I woke up with a start. I felt disoriented at first, but that quickly went away as I looked around my surroundings. I was in a hospital, what looked like a recovery unit of some sort. Across from me was the nurse's pod, a solid mahogany desk that wrapped around the wing in a U-shape, with nobody standing on either side. My eyes scanned the room. There were other beds like mine, but none were occupied. The whole unit was silent, save for my uneasy breathing. I tried to piece together my last memory to get a clue as to why I had woken up in a hospital. I sat upright on my bed, with my hands cradling my head. I remember driving my car, and then nothing. My brain went foggy from there. Frustrated and confused, I called out, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Hello?" My voice echoed in the empty room and bounced down the hallway. There was no answer. I carefully swung my legs out of bed and placed them on the floor. I rose to my feet, my bare feet feeling exposed on the cold linoleum floor. But other than that, I felt fine. "Okay, you gotta think for a minute," I said to myself. Panic began to creep up with long tendrils, and my heart fluttered in my chest. There's gotta be an explanation for all of this. I tried to comb my memories again, but was blockaded again by that same foggy feeling. I took a step forward, and then another one. No one came to check on me. I approached the nurse's station and looked over the counter. Nothing. I took a deep breath and decided to venture further until I found someone. Suddenly, I heard someone whisper my name to the right. I snapped towards it. Then I wish I hadn't. My eyes fell on something. It looked human, only I knew it couldn't be. It was huddled over near the end of the nurse's station several yards away. I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. I quickly looked down and noticed that my arm was bleeding from some invisible force. The figure had to have picked up on my bloody arm because it suddenly jerked its head to look at me. Its milky white eyes stared at my wound with hunger. The figure rose to its feet awkwardly, and that's when I got my first good look. It had the body of an older woman, only her flesh was yellow and rotted. Her thin hair was knotted and mangy, accompanied with several bald spots. She wore a Johnny like me, but hers was drenched in some reddish-brown liquid and clung to her emaciated torso. Pus-ridden sores peppered her arms, which she slowly beckoned with me. The thing's mouth hung like a serpent. Her chin touched her clavicle and revealed a black, slithering tongue. Her dead eyes stared at me feverishly. Before I could make any sudden movements, she lurched towards me in crooked strides. I yelped and went into primal mode. She was only a few feet away from me now, so I had to think quick. My hand shot over to the mahogany desk, frantically searching for a weapon. My fingers wrapped around a stapler. I picked it up and yelled, "Get back!" at the abomination. It halted for a second, called my name in a guttural croak, "Andrew! Andrew!" then continued striding towards me. My heart leapt into my throat. I felt a tightness in my chest as my adrenaline surged my body, screaming, "Fight! Fight!" When the monster was within arm's reach, I took no chances. I swung the blunt end of the stapler down in an arc. It connected with the thing's skull in a sickening crack. It crumbled to the floor. A thick, black liquid oozed from its forehead. Relentless, I scrambled on top of my opponent and swung recklessly. The brute force of the stapler was no match for the thing's skull. I saw chunks of rotted brain matter erupt from her head. After a few good hits, I stopped and checked the damage. The abomination did not move. I had killed it, I hoped. My body began to go numb. I dropped the stapler and sat against the wall with my head between my knees. My emotions began to kick up, and my eyes began to water. What the fuck was going on? I heard my name called again. I looked up and almost fainted in horror. Dozens more of these creatures had suddenly materialized. They surrounded me. They all looked at me with these silent expressions. Before I could react, I was picked up by invisible hands, and a hot, searing pain entered my neck. I blacked out. I woke up again on the same hospital bed, but to my relief, there were people around me. What a crazy dream, I thought to myself, and sat up. But I couldn't. I was handcuffed to my bed. Next thing I knew, a bunch of police officers approached me and said that I was under arrest for murder. They showed a video of me a few hours earlier. I watched the black and white images of myself and watched in horror as the things started to make sense. The grainy images showed me sitting in a hospital bed. I get up at one point and start to leave. The IV in my left arm becomes taut as I wander away, and I don't seem to notice as it gets ripped out of my skin. I staggered toward the nurse's station. One of the nurses noticed that I had left my bed and begins to approach me. I step back and pick up the stapler from behind the desk and wave it in front of her. She puts her arms up in caution and slowly approaches me. With hesitation, I strike the nurse in the head, then pounce on her and beat her to a pulp. The blood looks black on the footage as it pools around her head. Then, several people jump on me and sedate me. The officer turned off the footage and looked at me in disgust. I felt sick to my stomach and told them I wanted to talk to my lawyer.